Okay, hello, my name is Arik and welcome to Tarot Symbolism. This is very exciting because we are in the first class. And like I said, many of you have, if you ordered your Cosmic Pixels tarot deck, you should have gotten them by now. Not everybody received it yet, but please be patient, they are coming. So we are going to be I'm going to introduce just a little bit what we're going to be doing, and then I'm going to go through the first archetype. So it's very exciting, very auspicious. I'm very honored to be teaching about the tarot because these are really the forces of creation. These are the archetypes that created our world. These are also the archetypes that we use to create our individual world. And when we say archetypes, it's a very powerful word, but each archetype has within it archetypes, like mini archetypes. And so that's why it's really important when we're first studying or learning about the tarot, we really need to understand what do each of these mini archetypes, these symbols which within the archetypes, what do they represent? What do they even mean? And what's very auspicious about this class is that this is with the Cosmic Pixels deck, and it's never been taught in a whole set before like this. So this is a very special, unique opportunity that you all have because the tarot is very old, and there's been a lot of secrets that have been left out in the illustrations of the tarot, and with this deck we've brought them back into it. So it's really making the tarot that much more powerful, and it makes it, again, it's this window into ourself, and it's a really powerful aspect for us to really transform. And that's really essentially what the tarot is. It's this tool that we use that helps us to transform. And each one of these images that we will get into over the next 8 weeks specifically has to do with what's called the super consciousness. So let me just show you really quickly here. Okay, so this here. Okay, so this is the Cosmic Pixels. These are all the archetypes which I will eventually offer a class for. And we are beginning here with this card here called the Fool, and then we're going to be going through these first 8 cards. And each one of these rows has a different quality. So the first row here is the super consciousness. So that's why this is the tarot class of the super consciousness. And then, so we're going to go through each and every card, and we're going to get into the deeper aspects of it. But I just wanted to show you an overview. This is what's called like a tarot board. Actually, I offer these as well. And this is like when we're doing path work and we're learning about the different archetypes, and because the best way, when I was talking about it with Aurelia, the best way to learn about the tarot is through the journey. And that's when you go through each archetype and they build upon each other, and they build within yourself as well. And this is the map of that journey of what we're going to be talking about and discussing. Okay, so you guys, because this is the first class, there are a lot of people who kind of like are getting stuck. So just give me 1 second to help everybody get in. So hold on just a second here. Okay, hold on. I just want to make sure that everybody gets in. So hold on, let me see. Where is my... Let me just pull this up. Just working out the kinks in the first class. Okay. All right. Okay, so we are going to be working with the first archetype. This class is dedicated to an archetype called the Fool. And I will show it to you. If you have your cosmic pixel, then you can pull out the Fool. And you're going to be with this card for an entire week. Okay? And this is the Fool here. Okay. So you'll see here on the left is the archetype of the Fool, and then on the right are the different things that are within the different symbols that the Fool is made up of. And you'll get a copy of this. I will make sure that you get a copy of it with the recording. So the Fool represents the Fool really represents the zero. It's the original spark, okay? It's everything and it's nothing at the same time. Now, as you can see here, the Fool, he's on a cliff and he's leaping off of the cliff, and he's going into that void of that super conscious energy. And remember, in that poster I showed you, the Fool was at the top. So he's jumping into that super conscious energy to have an experience. So the Fool, if you're familiar with video games, for example, or games on your phone, the Fool is the user. He's like the Fool is the one really using whatever the system is, whatever the program is, whatever's going on. And I have to say from the very beginning that I personally call the Fool he, even though it is actually an androgynous archetype. It has no gender, it's non-binary, it's a non-binary archetype, and so you can refer to it as he or she or however you wish, but in this class I will refer to him as he, but that doesn't mean that you can't refer to it as she, because it's androgynous, okay? So the Fool, he really represents that alpha energy, that energy of zero, and he also is representing our full unrecognized potential. So everything that we haven't tapped into yet, everything that's a potential, that's the Fool. And what's really interesting about this archetype is that it represents no fear. It's being fearless, because it's really that part that's within us. It represents that part that is like God. So it's that energy of not being fearful, having certainty, and it's really important to have that, because the Fool is also these new beginnings. It's that really like that quantum seed level energy. The Fool is really is the archetype of every new beginning, every new project, every idea, every relationship. That's what this Fool is all about. And so that's why we begin with the Fool, because it's right here from the get-go. And what he's doing there is he's really stepping into that unknown territory, and it also represents our ability to be carefree, our ability to be light, and also any kind of help that we need or that we have within us to break through blockages of fear and blockages of anything that's really holding us back from stepping into the unknown. And what's also really interesting is that when we are done with this tarot journey through the major archetypes, that is, we're going to begin again with the Fool, because he's the zero, the nothing, and the everything. So we're always going back again to seeing like how we are with the Fool. It's like that reset energy. Now, when we're talking about the symbolism of the Fool, we need to know right off the bat that it's connected to our breath. And that's something that on one hand connects us all, and it also is something that we are taking in all the time and also releasing. So it's this energy of inhalation, exhalation. And that number, like if we inhale and exhale, that's a count of 1. And it's said that the number of breaths that we have in one life is set at birth. So we can really know with the Fool, like we don't want to waste our breath. We don't want to get angry and like waste our breath and waste the energy on doing things that are foolish in this degraded way, like this being foolish and just getting like out of control and mindless with the breath. So that's one aspect that we really need to understand when talking about the symbolism of the breath, which you can't really see because breath is something that's invisible, but you just need to know that that's what the Fool is representing here. The first visible symbol of the Fool is the sun, that white sun you see up here in the right-hand corner. And so again, we're talking about the symbols within the archetype, and that symbol, it's a white sun. It's representing all the possibilities that are available to us, and it's white because it has that vibration of white light before it's reflected by anything on earth, before anything is shooting on or projecting onto it. It's really like that pure white light, all the possibilities that we have, and that's the Fool. And the white sun, it reminds the Fool of the path of the least resistance. And that's the path that, in thermodynamics, like that's the path that light is traveling, the path of least resistance. And so that's what the Fool's doing as he's going into the unknown, and really being light and fearless about it. And then you see the next symbol is the feather. The feather is representing the conscious mind, okay? And you'll see that it's slightly above the staff, which I'll get into in a second. But see, it's slight, like we designed it in that way that it's above the staff, and this is indicating that that the conscious mind is like the first thing that we need to be mindful of, because we do everything in this world with our conscious mind. And if we're not using energy with our conscious mind, then energy is going to use us. So you see how the possibilities, it shoots right into the feather. And we need to be able to be mindful about the things that we're doing, the thoughts that we're having, the actions that we're taking. Because again, if we're not being mindful about it, we'll just be doing all kinds of things, again, wasting the breath. And then right from the beginning, our Fool is like going out of control. So we want to, as most as possible, if we're talking about possibilities, to try to keep that in mind. And also, his feather is representing the mastery over fear, the mastery over the anxiety and paranoia and anything that that could hold us back. This feather is like a feather in the hat that says, yep, okay, I mastered that fear, and here I go flying off the cliff, and I have no fear because I have no preconceptions of what's going to happen. Now, the staff that he's holding here, this is really interesting because this is actually connected to the Ace of Wands. This staff is representing the Ace of Wands, which is from the Minor Arcana, and that's the first ace. So there's 4 different aces, and the Wands is the first one, and it's connected to this energy of transformation. And that's what the tarot is all about, this energy of transformation, this energy of self-transformation, and having the tools to be able to transform. So the staff is representing and symbolizing the Fool's intuition, okay? Because that's also the fire element, which is what the Ace of Wands is connected to. And this wand, this intuition, is guiding him. This is his staff, and he knows through the energy that's being symbolized here through this staff that he's safe. Okay, that he's safe through his faith, that he's safe through his intuition. Because it's interesting, because people a lot of times when they say, well, if I have an intuition and it freaks me out, how do I know that was really intuition? Well, chances are it wasn't. Intuition, it doesn't come like with these emotional freakouts or these or making you fearful. It's a very detached, like fiery energy that's kind of like it's not getting into it, but it's just bringing the information. So he's able to have faith to know that he's safe by having that intuition be his compass. And then at the end of his staff there, you see the bag, and this represents the bag of memories. Yeah, so all of his experiences, everything, past, present, future, actually, they are in this bag. And it's really interesting because you will see that he's able to keep that bag up lightly, because the bag of memories, it's not weighing him down. The memories are light. They are, you could say it's like possibilities that have happened, right? So the possibilities, they've happened, but it's not weighing them down. Sometimes a lot of memories, they can become like baggage. They can weigh us down. They can keep us low. But no, not these memories. They are there to really like recall these experiences that have been there, that he's experienced. It's not something that's like a burden or anything like that. And you can see how light it is, how he's holding it. And also in this bag, it has this power of being endless. It's kind of like if you think of this Mary Poppins bag where he or she could just pull anything out of this bag, and everything that's needed will be pulled out of this bag. And I think it's really auspicious with the full moon in Pisces that we just had, where basically that was the teaching about everything that we need is available to us at all times. And that's this bag here, that's representing that represents that we have everything that we need, and everything is in there. It's the endless bag, because it's all these accumulated experiences of past lives, past incarnations. Everything is there. And again, it's not heavy. It's resolved. It's just the experiences are there. So in short, the Fool is really teaching us to recognize where we are using the current moment to live our past rather than to experience new things. And these themes will be coming up throughout your journey into this archetype. So it's really like we want to be what's called present, not living in the past, not living in the future, but living in the present. And that's definitely what the Fool is teaching us, or what he's symbolizing, because when we are present, then we have we have presence. Now the rose you'll see here is the white rose, and that represents the purity, that he has pure thoughts, and that his mind is one with the Creator. Okay, and it also represents that the Fool is on his way to enlightenment, that he's going, enlightenment is something that he's on the path to. And then you'll see his clothing, okay, that he's wearing. Now the red that you find in his clothing, it represents the fire of his energy. And we talked a little bit about that fiery energy, but there is a lot of this fiery energy internally. There's a lot of internal fire with the Fool. And fire is always going up. It's always rising. And so it's always transforming and bringing transformation. And if you think of when you light a match and then that fire is there, well, the Fool's like that spark that then brings the fire. And then the white that he's wearing, again, is representing the purity, like the rose. So it's closest to his skin. So there's a lot of purity when we're talking about the Fool. And then you'll see here that he has these wheels. He has these wheels on his garment, and that represents the wheel of fate. Okay, so that's how things are spinning around again. And actually, when we're talking about the tarot, the tarot is actually, if you set it in a certain way, it comes out to be rota, which is like rotation. And so it's these wheels of transformation. Like, are we just going around the same thing, transforming or not? Or are we actually like more of a spiral where we're rising up, like with that fiery energy? So when we have the combination of the wheel, of the purity, and the fire of his clothing, then we're really going up, and then we're transforming. Even if we're having like the same experiences over and over again, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit lighter. It starts to get a little bit more like we're lifting up higher and higher. So that's what the clothes are representing. And of course, the Fool is also representing curiosity, basic curiosity, and trying to see, like opening the mind and bringing new concepts and really understanding, like see how he's looking up and he's seeing, what are the answers and what are the questions and how am I going to put it all together? But then, of course, you will see here he's wearing a belt, and you can see it here as it's symbolized right there. And this is the belt that is representing the zodiac, okay? And so the zodiac are the 12 constellations that are filtering the light of the universe as it's manifesting here on Earth. And the way the Fool is representing that is that it tells us that he is in alignment with the movement of the heavens, with the movement of the stars, with the astrological timing, because astrology is really all about timing. And it's really important that we understand that, because that's what that belt is representing. That's what it symbolizes. Now, it also symbolizes the star seed. It symbolizes the star seed, and it's reminding the Fool of his origin, where he's coming from. So when we look at this, we see, where are we coming from? Where are we going? We're on the journey, and here we go. So it's all these different zodiacs, and because it's a belt, it's also bridging heaven and earth. It's making the connection, because you see that he's in the sky, but he's also on the earth. And so in the middle is the zodiac belt, and this is where we really are bringing it all together. Now, as I said earlier, you see here that he's on a cliff. He's on a cliff, and and I just felt that I wanted to say that for those of you who work with other decks, or for those of you who are wondering, like, is there a reason why certain symbols are not in the decks? There is reasons. If it's not there, it wasn't relevant to the actual meaning of the archetype. And if it's something new, it's something that was hidden. So I just wanted to say that to people who've worked, a lot with the tarot. Okay, so with the cliff there, and there, of course, then you see that then there's the abyss that's beneath the cliff. It's representing and symbolizing the unknown. It's symbolizing the new, because there's no way we can know what's beyond the cliff. There's no way that we can know. Even with the power of the zodiac and the power of astrology, it's not something that we can predict. It's something, we can see what the possibilities are, but the user always has the free will to choose what is going to happen. What are we going to do? And so that's really the unknown. And this a lot of times brings up a lot of fear for people, that they are afraid of the unknown because they don't have control, or they're afraid they might get hurt, or they're afraid they might lose something. But really, when we are afraid to go into the unknown, that's when we're at the risk of actually losing things, such as control. So and you'll see here in the background is the white snow. There's snow here. And it's melting, and that means that things are always changing. The things are always changing, and they're always, snow is going to freeze, it's going to melt again, it's going to precipitate, and then it's going to, rain down again. And so things are always changing, but the substance is always there. So there's always going to be enough water to nourish the earth, and to let the divine energy really flow through. And this is also really teaching us that life is our playground. The Fool wants us to play in the world, and wants us to take risks, and wants us to really play in the game of life and to really try new things and to not be afraid of everything or anything for that matter. And so you can see, like with his foot, that he's really pushing off into the unknown. He's pushing into life. He's pushing into life with fearlessness. He's pushing into life with trust. Okay? And the world is really open to him. You can see that, you know, he really sees life as the never-ending story. It's the never-ending story, and it's your book, right? So we all have our own book. We all have our own never-ending story, and the Fool's there to really teach you that life is there to be lived with all of our being. So if, you know, to not hold back and to not preserve and hoard things, but to really live life and love life, and remember that we're here to create. We're here to really form our reality. And that's why I'm so passionate about teaching this class, especially now in these times, because we have forgotten how to do that as a collective. And it's really important that we do that now, because the tarot has been mistaught for centuries, like for many, many years. These archetypes have been mistaught and misexplained. So I'm really happy to really be teaching us all that, no, we can create our world and we can use these archetypes to do that. So you can use these symbols, you can use this archetype. Just by looking at this archetype, you're already opening doors within yourself, okay? And, you know, with that said, the Fool's representing this abundance, like really like this endless abundance. And he has no problem receiving all the energy that's available to him, and he's able to ground it, because you see he's standing on the earth. He's not flying out, you know, into outer space, although he could, but he's really grounded there on earth. And what's really powerful with that is that as he's standing on earth, which is representing that geometricized mandala, that pattern, that mandala that we stay here, that we have here on earth, is that he's able to organize, he's able to bring structure, he's able to bring all this unlimited, endless possibilities into a practical purpose in the mandala that we're living here on earth. Now, I think that's a really powerful concept to understand, because unlimited, like, potential will only ever be potential if we cannot really ground it. So the Fool's the first one to do that, because we become the Fool in a way, and then we go on that journey, which we're going to then, you know, start with next week when we move into the Magician. And then we have here also the dog, okay? The dog. You see right here, this is the dog. And the dog represents the rational mind, okay? Kind of like that cautious mind. And the dog, what we need, the most important thing that we need to learn about the dog is that we need to train the dog. We need to train the rational mind. And this is going, again, back up to the feather of the conscious mind, that we need to be able to train this so that we're not letting our mind or the dog to become the master. So the question is, are you walking the dog, or is the dog walking you, right? So if the energy is using you, then it's going to use your mind. So we want to really know, like, we are in control of the dog, we are in control of the mind, and that we need to never let that dog become the master, because then it's going to bring up serious problems come strength, which we're going to get into way later in the journey. So the dog is representing that mental energy, because we as humans, like on the spiritual path, we know that we need a guide to the super consciousness. We do. There's like that, these energies that we're dealing with, it's a lot. So the dog is telling the Fool, hey, you know, be careful. Be careful. You might fall off the cliff, but the dog must remain loyal to the Fool, to the master, okay? But still to make the warnings, but to not overpower, but to make the warnings. And the dog is bound to this master. And without the master, the dog is lost. Then it becomes like a street dog, okay? So this means for us that we need a teacher, we need a guide to transform our mental patterns. Otherwise, we're going to get, then you fall off the cliff and you don't leap off. There's a big difference between leaping off with fear and falling down with fear. Leaping off fearlessly or falling down with fear, it has completely different consequences. So it's really, we need a guide, we need a teacher to transform the mental and to help us to really push beyond ourselves and to push out of any kind of comfort zone. Okay? So in terms of the different, I will make sure that you guys all get a copy of this handout. But in terms of some keywords that are connected to the Fool, these are new beginnings, being free-spirited, having spontaneity, and also innocence, the innocence. And some degraded qualities of the Fool are fear of the unknown and disruptions. And some other associations connected to the Fool are the super consciousness. That's the level that we're dealing with, because the Fool's the one going into the tarot, into the super consciousness. And also, okay, so one thing I really, of course I have to address is this symbol here. Okay, so this is actually a cosmic pixel of the Aramaic letters. And these are translated as different pulses. Letter actually translate in the Aramaic, it comes out as pulse. So these are these different pulses, which is ruled by the Fool. And this is the Aleph. This is the pulse of the Aleph. And this is also the Alpha. Okay? Aleph is Alpha. So this is representing, and this is actually representing where the archetypes are really coming from in the most raw form. Okay? And this is the power of the ultimate light, and it's ruling over the element of air and the element of breath. Okay? So you will see that each one of the archetypes has these different pulses. So this is the energy of the pulse is Aleph. Every archetype is also connected to an amino acid, and this one is actually connected to the stop command. The Fool is connected to the stop command. The numerology you will see here is 0, okay? And the planet that the Fool rules over, and in my astrology classes, we talk about the different archetypes there as well, but these archetypes rule over the astrological archetypes, because the tarot archetypes come first. They come first and foremost. So it's ruling over the planet Uranus. The aromatherapy for the Fool is patchouli. Yeah, good old patchouli. And the gem that's connected to the Fool is turquoise. And the Fool, of course, as I'm saying, is ruling over our breath. It's ruling over our pineal gland. It's ruling over our pulse. So whenever you're taking your pulse, that's the Fool. And it's also connected to convulsions as well. The ruling color is pale yellow. And the musical note is the note E. And it's also connected to a vortex, which is what I call chakras. And it's connected to, the Fool's connected to the orbital chakra, the orbital vortex that's surrounding us. It's actually in our aura. And the teacher to the Fool is the Death card, which we will learn about in later classes. So that was the Fool that you guys have just learned about. So what I want you to do is for 1 week, I want you to look for these symbols in your world. So of course, the sun, always there, the white sun. Look for the staff, the rose, the belt, the dog, the feather, and start to see these different mini archetypes, these symbols in your reality, and then see like, oh my gosh, these are messages from the Fool. And then stop yourself and think, when did you see it? When did you not see it? What is it trying to tell you? And if you're trying to create something and you start to see these different symbols, use this sheet that you're going to get and see what does it mean for you, what step are you on, what is it something that you need to consider. You know, think about all these things. And if you can, try to take a picture of the symbol as you see it in your world. And then if you want to post it, you can, you know, hashtag Cosmic Pixels Journey, or you can, you know, share it or just keep it for yourself as in your journal. But, you know, really starting to like see these different symbols, and you know, we can share them, and we can see how they are manifesting and what's your process and what is it that you're going through. Because in that search for self-realization, in that energy of self-transformation, and really allow yourself to kind of foolishly stumble into these symbols as well, because they're going to be very essential for your transformation. Okay, so with that said, that concludes the introduction into the Fool. So thank you guys very much, because we're going to start with it next week with the Magician. So have a wonderful time in the Fool, and I'm looking forward to hearing about your journey. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Bye-bye.